This is the presentation on Chapter 11, Profile Tolerances. So the objectives for this chapter are, first, define line and surface profile tolerances. 2, apply profile tolerances to define allowable variation within a limited zone on a feature or for all of a feature. Number 3, apply profile tolerances to extend all the way around a profile, shown in the drawing view. 4, sketch the tolerance zone created by the profile tolerances. And finally, differentiate between the definitions of the following terms. What is a line profile, surface profile, all-around profile, all-over profile, equal bilateral profile tolerance versus a unidirectional profile tolerance. Okay, so the profile specification. There are 2 types of profile tolerances. First of all, profile of a line, and then profile of a surface. The same feature control mainframe format between the two. The symbols are slightly different. There is never any diameter symbol for the tolerance. And with runout, always applies at RFS. There are no modifiers here. The datum reference is not always required, and datum references may be maximum material boundary or least material boundary as required. So if we were to set up a profile specification, we would do this with a feature control frame that looked like this. Here's the difference between the profile of a line versus profile of a surface. We have our tolerance with no diameter symbol. Always RFS, so there's going to be no modifiers in your tolerance block. And then datums A, B, and C. Now datum references as needed, and they're typically regardless of material boundary, but MMC is possible, or MMB is possible. So let's talk about the line profile first. It controls a single line element on a feature. Each line element is independent of all other line elements. Kind of like the conversation we had during straightness versus flatness. The control is only parallel to the profile to which the tolerance is applied, and the feature must be defined with basic dimensions. Now let's take a look at an application of a profile tolerance. Okay, so over here we have a section of our part. We have a drawing view here. We have a profile of a line. So notice that the line elements, these individual line elements, are the ones that are determined by this view. So we're showing it in this view. We're showing it a line, so we know that these lines here are actually representative of this line on the view. So these are the individual line elements that are controlled. Okay, my basic dimensions that define this are, first of all, a radius with a starting point here of 825. Now it comes up and it intersects this other radius here, and it has a straight line in between the two. So this location of the center, this location of the center, and the definitions of these radiuses are our basic dimensions. And then the profile tolerance is based upon those basic dimensions. Now, how will we go about checking a profile tolerance? In which case, we will check our profile tolerance using a indicator. We're going to pass it in a path that is parallel to the line that we're checking, and we have a 12 thousandths tolerance zone. So our full indicator movement for it to meet this tolerance is less than 12 thousandths. Now we can compare that to a surface profile. Yes, this is kind of like what I was saying, the difference between a straightness and a flatness. Surface profile. So it controls all elements on the surface. When applied to one surface on a feature of size, the size tolerance also affects the surface requirements. It's the simplest level control, and it controls the form only. So here's how we apply that to a drawing. Okay, so we have the same picture, okay, but we use this profile, and we have this thing that designates that the profile applies all the way from point A all the way to point B. And then here is what this means in interpretation. It is two parallel entities here, and it has the same line profile as the side of this part. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this in the next movie, but this talks about how to apply the surface or line profile tolerances only over a limited area. I'll pick that up in the next movie.